The phone buzzed on my kitchen counter, a sharp, insistent hum against the quiet. I paused, my coffee mug warm in my hands. The screen glowed. A text, not for me, for Michael. Capital Grille, 7 p.m. Just us, my breath caught. The Capital Grille, where he proposed 13 years ago. Comment yes if you'd check his phone, no if you'd confront him. I stood still, the coffee maker gurgled, steam rising. NPR murmured from the radio, soft and steady. My kitchen smelled of roasted beans and rosemary. A sprig sat in a pot by the window, leaves curling in the cool September air. Hardwood floors creaked under my slippers. I glanced at the quilt draped over the couch. Mom's gift stitched with care. Comfort I didn't feel now. The text burned in my mind. Just us. Who is us? I set my mug down. My hands trembled just a little. I saw Michael's face that night in 2010. Candlelight flickered at the Capital Grille. His voice shook as he slid the ring across the table. "Laura, you're my forever," he said. I believed him. Was I foolish? I picked up the phone, my phone, not his. The text was forwarded by mistake. A glitch in our shared plan. I stared at the words. My heart thumped heavy and slow. The rosemary scent sharpened, almost bitter. I walked to the garden door. Roses bloomed outside, red against the early fall leaves. I opened the door, letting cool air rush in. It didn't calm me. Michael's keys jangled in the hall. He rushed in suit, crisp hair neat. "Morning, Laura." His voice was too bright. I turned, phone still in my hand. "Morning," I said. My voice sounded steady. It wasn't. He grabbed his phone from the counter. A new cologne hit me. Sharp, unfamiliar. Not the one I bought him last Christmas. "Late meeting tonight," he said, not looking up. "Work's a mess." I nodded. My fingers tightened on my phone. "Be safe," I said. He left. The door clicked shut. Silence settled heavy as the quilt. I sat on the couch, pulling it over my lap. The fabric was soft, worn. I opened my phone. The text stared back. I hesitated. My sister Karen's voice echoed in my head. She'd called last night, laughing about her new job. But she'd paused. "Michael's been weird, Laura. Trust your gut." I hadn't listened. Now I wondered. I opened my laptop. The screen glowed cold. Michael's email was linked to mine. A habit from years ago. I clicked. My pulse raced. A reservation email from the Capital Grille. For 2, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Table 12, our table. The one where he proposed. My coffee sat untouched, cold now. I whispered. He wouldn't, would he? I closed the laptop. The quilt slipped to the floor. I stood, roses catching my eye outside. Their petals glowed in the morning light. I thought of Michael's smile, his promises. Sometimes what's left unsaid lingers the longest. I picked up my phone again. Karen's number waited. Should I call her or confront him tonight? What would you do? Comment yes for checking his phone, no for confronting him. Have you ever doubted someone you loved? Share below. Where are you listening from? Would I confront Michael now or dig deeper? What would you do? My SUV hummed softly. Leaves crunched under the tires. I drove toward Trader Joe's, but my mind wasn't on groceries. Rachel's name glowed in my thoughts. Tied to the Capital Grille. Michael's cologne lingered sharp and wrong. Not his usual scent. Comment yes if you'd follow him. No if you'd stay home. The air was crisp, October settling in. Halloween decorations dotted the neighborhood. Pumpkins on porches, fake cobwebs in trees. My scarf, wool and warm, hugged my neck. I gripped the steering wheel. The radio played a soft jazz tune. I barely heard it. Michael's text from yesterday haunted me. Just us. I saw our 2015 anniversary at the Capital Grille. Michael raised his glass, eyes warm. To forever, Laura, he toasted. Forever felt fragile now. I parked at the store. The lot buzzed with shoppers. I grabbed a cart, moving on autopilot. Organic chicken, a bottle of Pinot Grigio. My phone felt heavy in my purse. I paused by the produce. My fingers swiped to our bank app. A habit checking balances. A charge caught my eye. $200. The Capital Grille. Dated September 10th, 5 days before that text. My stomach twisted. I dialed Michael. "Laura, I'm swamped," he answered, voice clipped. "Quick question," I said, keeping it light. "That charge at the Capital Grille last month," a pause. "Client dinner," he said. "Big case." I nodded, though he couldn't see. "Okay," I said. My voice didn't shake, but my hands did. I hung up. The store's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. His lie sat heavy like the groceries in my cart. I drove to Karen's apartment. She lived 10 minutes away in a cozy complex. Her porch held a jack-o'-lantern grinning crookedly. I knocked, scarf still tight. Karen opened the door, her hair in a loose bun. "Laura, you look pale," she said. I stepped inside. A pumpkin candle glowed on her coffee table. Chamomile tea steamed in 2 mugs. Her place felt warm, cluttered with books and throws. I sank onto her couch. "I think Michael's hiding something," I said. Karen sat beside me. She handed me a mug. The tea's warmth seeped into my palms. "Tell me," she said. I spilled it all. The text, the charge, his cologne. Karen's eyes narrowed. She grabbed her phone. "Let's check something," she said. She opened Instagram, scrolled to a profile. Rachel Harper, a photo loaded. Rachel smiling at the Capital Grille, posted last month. My heart sank. "She works with Michael," I whispered. Karen set her phone down. She sipped her tea, thoughtful. "5 years ago, my ex did the same," she said. "Late nights excuses. Men like that don't change." Her voice was steady, but pain flickered in her eyes. I stared at the candle's flame. Its glow danced unsteady. "Am I crazy, Karen?" I asked. She shook her head. "You're awake," she said. I hugged the mug tighter. Truth can weigh more than love. I drove home, dusk settling. Street lights flickered on. My groceries sat untouched in the trunk. The scarf felt constricting now. I loosened it, breathing deep. Rachel's photo replayed in my mind, her smile confident. At our restaurant. I parked in my driveway. The roses glowed faintly in the twilight. I opened my phone. Rachel's LinkedIn loaded. Her title, associate at Michael's firm. Her face the same as the Instagram post. My doubt hardened into something else. My home office was dim. The desk lamp cast a soft glow. Michael's laptop hummed screen bright. Its password, our anniversary date. Rachel's email loaded. Friday, table 12, she wrote. Table 12. Our table at the Capital Grille, where he proposed. Comment yes if you'd expose him now. No if you'd forgive. I leaned back. My chair creaked old and worn. A glass of Merlot sat beside me. Its tartness lingered on my tongue. October's chill seeped through the window. A breeze rustled the curtains. Outside, faint music drifted. The neighborhood's fall festival alive with laughter. My house felt quiet. Too quiet. I opened my journal. Its leather cover was smooth, a gift from Karen. I wrote one line. He broke us. Table 12 haunted me. I saw Michael there in 2010. His eyes sparkled nervous. "Only you, Laura," he said. Ring in hand, I believed him then. Now Rachel's words mocked that memory. I clicked through Michael's emails. My hands shook just a little. A chain appeared. Rachel again. "Last time was perfect," she wrote. Same table. My stomach turned. I screenshotted each one. The cursor blinked accusing. I closed my eyes. The festival's music pulsed distant. I glanced at a photo frame. It sat on my desk, dust gathering. Michael and me, 2015. At the Capital Grille, table 12. Our anniversary. He'd kissed my hand, smiling. I touched the frame. The glass was cold. Something caught my eye. Michael's dresser across the room. His wedding band was gone. Not in its usual spot. My breath hitched. I stood curtained, swaying in the breeze. The wine glass trembled in my hand. My phone rang. Karen's name lit the screen. I answered, voice low. "Laura, you okay?" she asked. I paced, chair creaking behind me. I found emails, I said. Rachel and Michael, table 12. Karen exhaled. That's your table, she said. I know, I whispered. She paused. I hacked his calendar once, she said. My ex, found everything. I stopped pacing. Can you check his? I asked. Already did, Karen said. Reservations confirmed. Friday, table 12. My heart raced. The journal lay open, ink smudged. I sat again. The laptop glowed, emails still open. I opened a browser. The Capital Grille site loaded. My fingers hovered. I booked a table. Table 13, right beside theirs. The confirmation email pinged. I stared at it. My resolve hardened, sharp as the wine's edge. I wouldn't confront him yet. I'd see it myself. The truth laid bare. Karen's voice broke through. You're stronger than his lies, Laura, she said. I nodded, though she couldn't see. I need to know, I said. I closed the laptop. The festival music faded. My wine glass was empty now. I picked up the photo frame again. Michael's smile felt like a stranger's. Courage grows in quiet moments, not in chaos. I set the frame face down. The curtains stilled. Should I just watch them or make them face the truth? The phone's dial tone hummed in my ear. A fall wind rattled the windows. I stood in my living room, voice steady. The Capital Grille, a woman answered. Sarah, it's Laura Bennett, I said. A pause. Laura, it's been ages, she replied. Tonight I'd face them. Comment yes if you'd plan revenge. No if you'd walk away. The evening was crisp, October's chill deepening. My living room glowed under a single lamp. A photo album lay open on the coffee table. Its pages were worn, edges curling. I flipped to 2013, Michael and me at the Capital Grille, our vow renewal. He'd held my hand, eyes soft. We'll always choose each other, he promised. I traced his face in the photo. The lamp's light flickered, casting shadows. I closed the album, its leather snapped shut sharp in the quiet. I walked to my closet. A navy dress hung there, simple but elegant. I ran my fingers over the fabric. Smooth, cool, like Rigouve. I'd wear it tomorrow. At table 13, right beside Michael and Rachel. My heart thumped steady now. I sat on the couch, album beside me. Memories stirred unbidden. 10 years ago, I turned down a promotion for Michael's career. Late nights I'd cooked, waited. He'd promised it'd be worth it. Was it? Karen's knock broke the silence. She stepped inside, her scarf loose. Got your toast ready? She asked, grinning. I smiled, faint. Not yet, I said. She sat, pulling a notebook from her bag. Let's practice, she said. I nodded. My voice wavered at first. To truth, I began holding an imaginary glass. Karen clapped. Stronger, she urged. I tried again. To truth, Michael. No more lies. My words hung sharp. Karen's eyes softened. You're ready, she said. I exhaled, the couch's cushions sinking under me. The phone rang. I grabbed it, expecting Michael. It was Sarah from the restaurant. Laura, I checked, she whispered. Table 12's booked for Michael. Tomorrow. I gripped the phone. Thank you, I said. A pause. I've seen him there before, Sarah added, voice low. With her. My chest tightened. Set up table 13 perfectly, I said. On it, she replied. I hung up. The wind howled outside, branches tapping glass. I opened my laptop. The screen's glow was harsh. I drafted an email. To Rachel's brother, David Harper. I'd found him on LinkedIn. A family man based in Raleigh. I attached screenshots. Michael's emails to Rachel. Proof of their dinners at the Capital Grille. My fingers hovered over send. I thought of Michael's vow renewal. His promises now ashes. I clicked. The email whooshed away. I leaned back, the laptop warm on my lap. The room felt colder now. Karen stood, scarf in hand. You're doing this for you, she said. Not just for him. I nodded. She hugged me, her coat rustling. Call me tomorrow, she said. The door clicked shut behind her. I walked to the mirror. I tried on the navy dress. It fit perfectly, hugging my frame. I smoothed the fabric, heart racing. I was ready to watch them, to see the truth unfold. Strength blooms in the spaces we reclaim. Should I stay silent tomorrow or speak? The Capital Grille's lights were dim. Glasses clinked softly. I sat at table 13, my napkin folded neatly. The room buzzed with murmurs. I raised my glass, voice steady. The restaurant fell silent. The air carried the scent of seared steak, a faint hint of wine, rich and oaky. Halloween decor adorned the walls. Paper bats hung above, swaying gently. My chair, upholstered in leather, felt firm. I wore a silver bracelet, a gift from my mother. It caught the candlelight glinting softly. Across the room at table 12, Michael laughed. Rachel leaned close, her earrings sparkling. My pulse thrummed, calm but fierce. I'd watched them for 20 minutes, their ease, their secrets laid bare. I sipped my water, cool against my lips. The glass was heavy, etched with the restaurant's name. I remembered sitting here before, not at table 13 but at 12, with Michael years ago, his hand on mine, warm and sure. I'd held back then too, watching, waiting, choosing silence over rage. Tonight was different. Sarah, our server, passed by. Her eyes met mine, a subtle nod. The plan was set. My fingers brushed the bracelet, grounding me. Michael's voice carried light and confident. He ordered a bottle of Cabernet, the same one we shared in 2013, during our vow renewal right here. I set my glass down. The clink was sharp in the quiet. Rachel's laugh grated sharp and carefree. I glanced at the door. No sign of David yet. Rachel's brother, who'd received my email. I'd sent him proof. Screenshots, dates, lies. My heart beat faster, but my hands stayed still. Sarah approached table 12. She poured their wine, her smile professional. She glanced at me, barely noticeable. I nodded back. The restaurant's murmurs resumed. A couple nearby, toasted glasses chiming. I stood smoothing my skirt. The room didn't notice. Not yet. I cleared my throat, glass in hand. May I have your attention, I called. My voice rang clear, steady. Heads turned. Michael's smile froze. Rachel's eyes widened just a fraction. I smiled, calm as the candles flame. I'd like to propose a toast, I said. The room hushed, curious. To truth, I began. No more lies, Michael. His face paled. I turned to Rachel. And Rachel, your brother knows now. Gasps rippled through the tables. A woman nearby whispered loud enough to hear. Michael's glass trembled, wine sloshing. Rachel's earrings glinted, her mouth open. The door swung open. David Harper stepped in, face grim. He strode to table 12. Rachel, he said, voice low, sharp. Her chair scraped back. The room spun, but I stood firm. Sarah watched her tray steady. Patrons stared, forks paused mid-bite. David's voice rose, words clipped. I trusted you, he said to Rachel. Michael stood, hands raised. David, let's talk, he started. David cut him off. No, he said. He turned to Rachel. We're done. The restaurant buzzed, whispers swelling. I lowered my glass. My bracelet gleamed, a quiet anchor. Justice doesn't always shout. It stands tall. Cardboard boxes rustled under my hands. I sealed the last one, tape screeching softly. My new apartment smelled of lilies, fresh and sweet. Their petals glowed in a vase on the counter, catching morning light. I'd left Michael's ghosts behind in our old house. The weight of his betrayal, once crushing, now felt distant. Comment yes if you'd start over, no if you'd forgive. November frosts traced delicate patterns on my windows. The air was crisp, sharp with winter's edge. My apartment was small, a blank canvas. Bare walls held promise, not echoes. A single bookshelf stood by the door, half filled with novels. My favorite teacup rested on the table, blue porcelain, chipped from years of use. I traced its rim, warm from chamomile tea. The radiator hummed a gentle pulse in the quiet. A flyer lay tucked under a magnet on the fridge. Charlotte Book Club meeting tomorrow. I smiled small but steady. This space was mine, a new chapter written in light. I unpacked a stack of plates, their clink soft against the hardwood. The floor gleamed polished by the landlord's care. A woven rug, a thrift store find, warmed the room. My laptop glowed on the counter, open to an email. A new client praising my freelance marketing pitch. I'd started last week, small projects at first. No more late nights for Michael's ambitions. I thought of that night 10 days ago. The Capital Grille, my glass raised high. To truth, I'd said, voice unwavering. Michael's face pale under the candlelight. Rachel's earrings glinting as she froze. David's voice sharp with betrayal. The pain of their lies lingered, a faint scar. But I'd reclaim my worth standing tall. Karen's knock broke the stillness. I opened the door, frost nipping my fingers. She stepped in her scarf, trailing coat dusted with cold. "This place suits you, Laura," she said, eyes bright. I laughed, soft and real. "Still a work in progress," I said. She set a bottle of sparkling cider on the counter. "For new beginnings," she said, grinning. I grabbed 2 glasses, their rims catching the light. The cider fizzed golden and bright. We clinked, the sound clear in the quiet room. "To your strength," Karen said. "You're unstoppable now." I sipped, bubbles dancing on my tongue. Her pride warmed me like sunlight through the frost. We sat on the couch, its cushions firm and new. The lily's scent drifted delicate and calm. Karen scrolled, her phone, brow furrowed. "Look at this," she said, voice low. A news article loaded stark and cold. Michael's law firm splashed across the headlines. He'd been fired, conduct unbecoming. Rachel's name appeared, her engagement shattered. David, her brother, had walked away. I set the phone down. The frost outside sparkled, catching dawn's glow. No joy stirred in me, just peace. A weight lifted, final and quiet. Karen touched my hand. "You didn't just survive," she said. "You rebuilt." I nodded, the rugs weave soft under my feet. I walked to the window, my reflection clear. The street below bustled, neighbors hauling winter market stalls. A vendor sold wreaths, pine scent drifting up. I'd gone yesterday, bought a small one for my door. Its needles pricked my fingers, sharp but alive. I thought of the years with Michael, the compromises, the quiet sacrifices. I dimmed my light for his. No more. My freelance work, though new, felt like home. A client's logo designed by me launched today. I smiled, watching a child tug a sled below. The book club flyer called to me. I joined last week, nervous but curious. Last night I attended my first meeting. The library room was warm, lined with oak shelves. 8 women sat in a circle, books in hand. We read a novel about a woman starting over. One member, Ellen, shared her story, her divorce, her reclaiming of self. "I thought I'd break," she said, voice soft. But I grew. I nodded, my teacup warm in my hands. I shared a little too. Not the details, but the feeling. The room listened, kind and steady. Their nods felt like anchors. I left with a new book, pages crisp. I returned to the couch, picking up a new journal. Its cover was smooth, a deep green. I opened it, pen gliding across the page. The tea's warmth lingered on my lips. I wrote one line. "I'm enough." My hand paused, steady and sure. The radiator's hum filled the room. Ellen's words echoed soft but strong. I thought of the book club, the wreath, the lilies. Healing isn't loud. It's the quiet choice to begin again. Karen stood, wrapping her scarf tight. "You're glowing, Laura," she said, eyes soft. I hugged her, her coat cold against my cheek. "Thanks for staying by me," I said. She squeezed my hand. "Always," she said. The door closed, a gentle click. I picked up the teacup, its chip a badge of time. The lilies stood tall, their scent a quiet promise. Pages turned softly under my fingers. The book club's latest novel, dog-eared and loved. My office smelled of fresh coffee, rich and warm. A winter sun streamed through the window, golden and soft. I leaned back in my chair content. 1 year later, I'd found my peace. November sunlight danced on my desk. The air was cool, crisp, with winter's touch. My Charlotte apartment had grown into a home. Bookshelves lined the walls, brimming with stories. A desk stood by the window, cluttered with papers. My freelance marketing work now thriving. A framed photo sat nearby me and Karen, her smile wide and proud from last Christmas. I sipped my coffee, its steam curling upward. The mug was new, a gift from a client. Its weight felt solid like my new life. I opened my laptop screen, glowing bright. A major project waited, a local bakery's rebrand. My logo design, bold and warm, launched today. The client's email glowed with praise. "Laura, you've transformed us," it read. I smiled, fingers tracing the mug's rim. A year ago, I stood at the Capital Grille. Glass raised, voice steady. To truth, I'd said, exposing Michael's lies. Rachel's shock, David's anger. That night broke me open, but it built me too. I wrote in my journal then one line. "I'm enough." Those words carried me here. Karen's knock echoed sharp in the quiet. I opened the door, winter air rushing in. She stepped inside, her coat flecked with snow. "Laura, this office is you," she said, grinning. I laughed, soft and free. "Finally feels right," I said. She set a thermos on the desk, steaming. "Hot cocoa, my treat," she said. I poured 2 cups, the chocolate scent rich. We clinked, the sound warm and bright. "To a year of you," Karen said. Her eyes sparkled proud. I sipped, warmth spreading through me. Karen sat, coat rustling, phone in hand. "You hear about Michael?" she asked, voice low. I shook my head, curious but calm. She scrolled, showing a news clip. His law firm, still reeling from scandal, Michael now working a small practice alone. Rachel had left Charlotte, her career stalled. Her engagement long gone. I set my cup down, its warmth fading. The snow outside fell gently, blanketing the street. No anger stirred, just a quiet nod. "They made their choices," I said. Karen squeezed my hand. "And you made yours," she said. I walked to the bookshelf, fingers grazing spines. A novel caught my eye, the book club's next read. Last week's meeting replayed in my mind. The cafe cozy with string lights. Pastries lined the counter, their sweetness tempting. 8 women sat around a table, books open. Ellen, a new member, spoke softly. Her husband's betrayal fresh and raw. "I don't know how to move on," she said. Her eyes searching met mine. I shared my story, not all but enough. The Capital Grille, the toast, the truth. "You'll find your way," I told her. She nodded, a spark kindling. This morning a note arrived. Ellen's handwriting neat and small. "Laura, you gave me courage," it read. I held the paper, its edges crisp. My coffee cooled, steam gone. I thought of the book club, the cafe's glow. Ellen's face brighter at our last meeting. She'd started a journal like mine. I smiled, sunlight warming my cheek. The snow outside piled softly, a new layer. My work, my home, my voice, they were enough. I sat at my desk, novel in hand. Pages rustled, a story unfolding. The radiator hummed steady and low. I thought of Michael's promises, now dust. Of Rachel's laughter, now silenced. Of my own heart, now whole. Legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's who you lift up. I closed the book, its weight a comfort. Have you inspired someone after your pain? What would you do? Comment? Yes, if you've lifted others. No, if you're still healing. Share your story below. Where are you listening from? Have you inspired someone after your pain? Tell me, what would you do? The winter market bustled under string lights. Pine wreaths hung from stalls, their scent sharp and green. I pulled my coat tighter, the November chill brushing my cheeks. Mulled wine steamed in my hands, its spices warm. Ellen walked beside me, her scarf bright red. The book club had brought us closer, her quiet strength growing. "Laura, I'm starting over," she said, voice steady. I smiled, snowflakes catching in my hair. The market's hum filled the air. Children laughed, tugging parents toward a cider stand. A vendor offered us knitted mittens, soft and thick. I bought a pair, their wool warming my fingers. Ellen paused at a stall, eyeing a handmade journal. "I've been writing," she said, shy. "Like you suggested." My heart swelled, soft and full. "That's brave," I said. She bought the journal, its cover a deep blue. We sipped our wine, steam curling in the cold. A quartet played carols, their notes bright. I thought of last year, the Capital Grille's wait. Michael's lies. Rachel's shock. That moment broke me, but it shaped me too. I'd built a life since then. My freelance work thrived, logos in shop windows. This market, Charlotte's heart, felt like home. Ellen nudged me, pointing to a wreath. "For my new apartment," she said, grinning. I nodded, pride soft in my chest. A woman approached, her face familiar. "Laura from book club?" she asked. I nodded, surprised. "Mary," she said, smiling. "Your story last month, it stuck with me." She'd faced her own betrayal years ago. "Kept me going," she added. I blinked, warmth spreading. "Thank you," I said, voice soft. Ellen smiled, her journal tucked close. The carols swelled, a gentle tide. I bought a wreath too, its pine a quiet promise. The market glowed, lights twinkling. Snow dusted my coat, soft and fleeting. I thought of Karen, her unwavering support. Of Ellen, Mary, the women I'd met. My pain had woven a thread connecting us. I'd chosen dignity, not just for me, but for them. My office waited, a new project tomorrow. This life hard won was enough. The mulled wine warmed my hands, its spices lingering. I walked on, Ellen beside me, our steps light. As I watched the snow fall, my heart felt steady, whole. Dignity grows when we choose to rebuild, not just survive.